wealth without knowledge is temporary.
How do you feel about AI? Is it here to destroy us?
Businesses do not just operate in communities, they belong to them. And if you're going to belong to a community and that community has helped supported your business for X number of years, then it's kind of implied that you can help the community back.
The wealth transfer in Canada is expected to hit $1 trillion over the next 18 to 24 months.
And that's the strength of having a team like you and myself on hand, where you can bounce ideas, tell you what the regulations are, and have a sense of humor at the same time.
I know the entrepreneur,
Sure.
the accountant, the father, the husband, but also a dear friend. Cheers to you, my friend. Salute.
Thank you so much.
Salute. Welcome to my office, everybody, and welcome to my first podcast. It's a new adventure for SFAF, and we're looking forward to participating in many different podcasts over the coming years to give free education, free information to our listeners. It's 25 years soon that I'm wrapping up into the business of financial security advising. I've had a very good run through the last 2.5 decades, building up a successful business, a people-to-people business, and got to enjoy a lot of organic growth. I take pride in the work that I do with my team, that we do to service our clients. I can't wait to introduce you to our first guest on this podcast, as I think it's a very important person, an element, if I can speak about Francesco this way, an element that is added to my business over the years. I think that everybody needs to be introduced to this wonderful personality, and professional that is in SFAF's life. So, Francesco Sacco, welcome to my office.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. What a great idea! Look at this, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
It's a new process. So we're going to get accustomed to this.
Wow, 25 years. There should be lots of new processes on the way. Good for you, Andre. So, thank you for having me. By the way, I'm more than happy to be here.
It's a real pleasure, and it's me who's thanking you. And I think our viewers are going to be thanking you as well, as they have a chance to listen through the conversation that we're about to have. First off, I think the most important thing that we can do for people who are listening in is that you explain to them who you are. Because for me, it's easy, right? I know the individual for many years now. I know the entrepreneur,
for sure,
the accountant, the father, the husband, but also a dear friend. How about you tell everybody, a little bit more details about who you are? And as you do that, I'm just going to pour us a little scotch, because the invitation that I gave you was that we're going to have this open conversation while we're enjoying a good drink.
It is why I'm here.
Absolutely. So go ahead and give the listeners.
So thank you so much. As you have already said, my name is Francesco Sacco. Welcome, everyone. I'm a co-founder of Group Sacco, or Sacco Accountants. Co-founded it with my parents 7-8 years ago now, if memory serves. I've been in the industry for a long time, accounting and taxation industry. And when I say been in the industry a long time, I mean 15 years, 7 years a C+ level manager, but last 15 years gaining experience along the way, for sure. We focus on businesses and the individuals, most importantly, the individuals behind those businesses, and how to support them with their operations, and support management with their decisions and their growth, for sure.
Yeah, I actually agree with you at 100% of what you just said. I mean, you've helped SFAF reach different targets, different goals through the added advice and added structures that we've added through your guidance and through your father's guidance. I mean, as you said, you co-founded the business. Your dad was in the business before that. I mean, our viewers don't know, but I've been dealing with Vincent Sacco for 20 years now, and I've had the privilege of meeting you through that process when you were a very young gun in the business. And I gotta say, you brought a real new flair to your accounting firm, and it's a real privilege to have your team help us guide our team towards new heights as we grow our business. So as you continue saying more about you, I'd like to also send a cheer, and as a token of appreciation to my dear friend Jean-François Cloutier, who gifted me this wonderful scotch. I'd like to send a cheer to him and his agency as we embark on this new journey together. Thanks, Jean-François, for a wonderful liquid gold, as I'll call it, And Francesco, cheers to you, my friend, for
Well, thank you so much.
accepting to be
I
here.
don't know who Jean-François is, but thank you very much, Jean-François. I'm looking forward to meeting him maybe someday. Sounds like a splendid guy.
He's splendid, and he knows his speakers. So I was invited to speak at his agency to give a little bit of my insights in the business and explain my parkour over the last 25 years. And it was a Q&A style 3-hour conference, and he gifted me this without even me asking for anything. I just wanted to help out a friend. And, well, in the end, he understood his friend's likes. I love Scotch. Anybody who knows me knows that I enjoy a good drink, and especially a good drink in good company.
Good company, for sure.
Cheers to you, my
Cheers.
friend.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy. Salute.
Smells wonderful, by the way. So I'm an entrepreneur, as you mentioned. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, a long family of entrepreneurs. So both my parents, as you mentioned, had businesses before me and were entrepreneurs. Both sets of grandparents before that had their own businesses as well and were entrepreneurs. So for myself, being exposed to that entrepreneurial style of life early on, really, I mean, you know as well as I do the challenges of being an entrepreneur. It's constant problem solving. You got to be very resilient. A lot of stuff going on.
You're saying something that's really important. I think that I'm gonna try to guide our conversation towards a little bit of that topic. You're touching something that's really important. You know, you're talking about the influence that your family has had on you over your life, and it's what's allowed you to become the businessman that you are today. So we're definitely going to touch that subject a little bit more later on in the conversation, because I feel that it's an important topic. So yeah, I will say that just from face value, from my own experience with your family's firm, you guys have a plethora of information to give to potential clients or existing clients. The fact that you guys know finance as a general broad subject, and on top of it, I understood over the years that you guys are real savvy with real estate as well, aren't you?
For sure. I mean, we've definitely gotten, being in the business for 15 years myself, and my parents 40 plus years. So being in the business that amount of time, you don't stay in the industry without gaining a few tricks up your sleeve around the way and sharpening your pencil along the way as well.
Yeah, very well said. How does that tie in now? Like your personality, the knowledge that you had with being transmitted to you from your family over the years. How does that translate now from your office to what's offered out there? Because there are firms, right? And that's what everybody knows. There's firms out there, the big names. We won't mention names because we all have one on top of our heads. And then there's the boutique firms like yours, which can actually have much more of an impact. I mean, I felt it. You know, you guys were able to specifically hit the nail on the head with certain points in my business that guided me towards better cash flow, better tax planning, better structure when it comes to corporate structure. Can you tell our listeners, like, what's the difference between doing business with Group Sacco or Sacco Accountants and the bigger firms out there?
So that's a great question, and it comes up fairly frequently. And you know what? The easy answer would be to say the big firms are better tailored for bigger companies, and that's true. But I think there's an element of more depth that we can go into to really explain what that means. And the example I like to give is I like to use a medical analogy. Essentially, a firm like ours, a boutique firm, it is like a family doctor or a general practitioner. And the big firms are comparable to specialized doctors or surgeons. The reality is, sometimes you need a specialist. Sometimes you don't. When a business needs a specialist, it's going to be really hard for them to find somebody that they trust, somebody they know, and who can really tailor the request to what they need in that minute. And that's where we come in. We come in because we know the players in the market, we know the firms, we know who specializes in what, where, and we know what your business needs. And again, we're like your family doctor. So we're your first call. We're your first call when something doesn't feel right. We're your first call when you just need a financial checkup.
Yeah, and I think that your analogy is amazing. In fact, if I may say, it's cost efficient. Because one of the things that I had realized really early on was, do I hire someone to do my own bookkeeping in my company and spend that extra, we'll say cash flow or dollars of the company towards a full salary, or I might as well deal with a boutique that's going to take care of my books, shave my costs down, because I'm actually saving money with you guys. Some people see it as a cost, and I'm like, I'm saving money. as my business is growing, I don't have to actually have someone that's in-house. But at the same time, yeah, I need that surgeon once in a while. I need to have that specific advice. And you've thrown us that way when we needed to, But on the day-to-day, I mean, I have to say, 99% of the time I go for a checkup. It's, because I have a sore throat. And I get a little pill that's being prescribed and it's done, right? But you guys are exactly that. It's great analogy. I appreciate how you put it.
Thank you. I mean, we don't have accounting pills, but
yeah. You know what's funny,
wish we
guys?
did.
And I'm gonna say it out straight. You're that accountant who's that anomaly. You're a funny guy. You're a funny guy. So I'm gonna say, and that's the joke, right? Most accountants, not to throw a jab too much at everybody out there. We can appreciate your humor, but your analogy is a smart one, and I think that if I can make a pitch to everybody out there who's listening, they should look you up. And,
thank you.
In fact, I am going to say it that we're going to probably definitely with our team, with our recording team, we're definitely going to put some plugs for you at the end of the episode, because clearly, I feel that there are people here in the local market of Montreal that need your services, that need your expertise. So,
thank you.
I am going to bring the conversation a little bit to tie in what you touched over here, because do we need a specialist? Do we need a generalist? In the end, the broader subject is financial literacy, isn't it? I mean, I notice it in our business at SFAF. The problem that we see is that there's not enough education being given through the school system, at least I think. And, 25 years later, I come out of the school system and it's still the same. Kids are coming out of high school, college, university, unless they specifically chose finance or accounting classes, they have no idea what they're doing, and they're in the workforce. Do you see challenges with financial literacy on your end?
Well, that's a great question, and it's been all the buzz for sure lately in the last few years. That's what everybody's talking about, is financial literacy for sure. And I think you touched on an important topic. Is they're not teaching that in school. And you mentioned even the onus is on the student to select certain classes, and for sure. But even in that case, even the students that do select those classes, do they really go in depth enough to give you the experience for the level of wealth transfer that Canada is going to be expecting in the next year or few years?
I could tell you from face value of what I went through when I was in university and studying high mathematics. I mean, I was in actuarial mathematics at Concordia. And even with that, I had no notion of actual financial management of my own books or of my own potential wealth that I could build over time. I had no idea.
Not an uncommon story. Not an uncommon story at all. And that's exactly it. Schools are teaching children how to calculate the area of a triangle, but they don't teach compound interest.
Wow, that's well said. That's well said.
Or maybe not to the same level, at least.
I mean, look, let's agree. Let's agree and not disagree. Pythagoras was definitely a game changer, but I don't think that it's necessarily what's going to make someone have a better book in their financial lives going forward. I agree with you on that one.
For sure.
It's an unfortunate thing, and I guess our roles, jointly, yourself, your firm, and ours, has only increased in its value over time.
For sure, and that creates a gap. This issue in the school system and issue with financial literacy creates a gap, right? And that gap creates stress later on, both for parents transferring wealth and the children receiving the wealth, the next generation receiving the wealth. And so it's our responsibility for sure to try to help alleviate that gap and narrow it as much as we can.
That's a very, very good point, the idea of transfer of wealth.
The key about that is that the wealth transfer is not just about the assets. And when we're talking assets, you know this as well as I do, we're talking money, we're talking businesses, we're talking real estate, we're talking invested assets, portfolios, we're talking the whole shebang.
Yeah.
The whole shebang. And that's not all of it. The wealth transfer has to be the knowledge as
100%.
well.
Ever since I came into this business in 2001, they were talking about the wealth transfer that's going to start. The baby boomers transferring their things to their children and grandchildren. So, you could expect, obviously, that there was a start of it in the last decade. It did. We've seen wealth transfer begin. And so you started seeing Generation X getting very wealthy. But they've also, themselves, by their own right, built their own wealth through business and through their own investments. But then you have the millennials and Gen Zs who are going to be taking over even more so, because the wave has only gotten stronger. The wealth transfer in Canada is expected to hit $1 trillion over the next 18 to 24 months. It's enormous. And what I've noticed as we keep treading across different files. There are some children out of certain households that were guided to learn about finance. And so, they'll be able to take over their family business and or management of the assets or the wealth that was created by the generation before. But we also see the other half, the other side of the coin, where some kids are adults. We're talking about adult children who have no notion of how to manage their assets. And it's a scary thing because this wealth is in our markets right now, whether it's real estate or stocks or mutual funds.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen to this? I mean, we can create a massive drain of cash on the system if it's not managed properly.
Or a transfer of cash, which means families who worked super hard to build this wealth are going to end up transferring it abroad to others, or
whether it's another family in the same country,
whether it's
or
another
abroad
family
in another
or
country.
abroad to other countries. When I say abroad, I mean out of the four walls of the family.
What do you do at home? I know you have children. Do you plan to? I know they're young as well, but like, what age do you feel is a right age to start educating the children?
So any age, because it is a start, right? So it's a great question. Any age, and you're touching on such important topics. And you and I have had this conversation before. This is not new. We've had this conversation many times, and you and I agree on this point that wealth without knowledge is temporary. And I think that's a heavy point, and our viewers and anybody else should let that sink in.
That's a very strong point. In fact, it's like talking about an empire, right? The rise of an empire can happen over centuries.
Absolutely.
And it takes one day to ruin it all.
Absolutely. So
Right.
transferring that wealth without that knowledge is like handing over the keys to a car to someone who doesn't know how to drive.
Or giving $1 million to an 18-year-old and say, are you going to buy real estate with
Same
it, or
idea.
you're going to buy a Ferrari?
Same idea.
And-
Even
and-
if they choose the right investment in real estate or whatever, they won't know how to manage it.
That's right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a Ferrari. I love a good Ferrari. But we can show them how to invest this money. And with time, they can use the fruits of their investments to actually purchase these beautiful luxury items. But until you've actually set your management skills to a level where you could understand that expense/investment, because in some cases we could agree that it could be a nice investment in life, and in sometimes it can grow in value. But the truth behind it is, you're parking money onto something that is literally going to be parked outside, and it's going to generate you nothing. And yet we have the tools necessary to be able to educate this next generation. But it starts at home. Like, it's all very
For
nice
sure.
that we have firms that are there to support this knowledge transfer, that we can call
sure.
it that, right? We can transfer our knowledge to this generation. But truth of the matter is, it starts at home. So what do you do at home?
So here's a great example. I have two examples for you, and I'm going to use the first one first because it's a little funny, and I think that it's a great story. And it's an example from my house with one of my children. So a family friend asked my 7-year-old, and this wasn't too long ago, it was less than a week ago. A family friend asked my 7-year-old, "What would you do if you got $1 million?" And she turned and it was very blunt, and she said, "Oh, that's easy. I'd buy all the chocolate in the world." So we laughed a little bit for sure, but at the same time, we said, that's a great idea, but it's not a very diversified portfolio. And so we sat down and we chatted a little bit, and I explained to her what she can do with the money if she invested it instead of ate it. And essentially, we had our first talk about wealth.
Kids will respond based on how they perceive, right? But I also think that they're quick learners.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't have to start big. I mean, the important thing is that you're having those conversations.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the size of it or, and another example from my household is, we started teaching our children about wealth and money and values. Money values is what I mean, from a very young age. You started with the tooth fairy.
Yeah.
They got a certain amount of money from the tooth fairy, and that money was went into a little wallet, and we would take them to the toy store, and we said, well, this is how much money you have. That toy costs so much. You can either spend the money on the toy and budgeting, right, because you only have so much to spend, or whatever amount you choose not to spend earns interest.
This is amazing. So basically, you're rendering something that is so minuscule in our mindset as adults, but it's actually relevant to the children. You're tying in a need and a want at their level.
Absolutely.
And you're making them decide what's right and what's wrong within that.
Absolutely. And I didn't start off that complex. It started off just with the budgeting portion. And then slowly, we added the interest portion. And slowly, before you knew it, before a while, before they lost all their teeth, They were arguing over, or thinking to them, arguing with themselves is what I mean. Arguing with themselves, should I buy this toy?
Yeah.
Or should I wait and maybe get a little bit more money and then spend it on
You
something
know,
a little bigger?
I got a message for your kids right now. So one day maybe they're going to listen into this and they're going to say, "Oh, my dad did this." Kids, listen to daddy, because you could probably invest that money, and you know what? You'll buy these chocolate bars perpetually for the rest of your life, or those toys, whatever they are, perpetually, because you've invested your money first.
For sure. That's the idea.
You know, I'm going to actually compliment your story, and thank you for that, by the way. That was a very good story. I'm going to compliment that story with another story of mine. I went through something similar with my daughter, who's a young adult today. You know, and one of the first lessons I think that I got to see her proper reaction when it came to face the value of money. So we were at Walmart. This is a decade and some ago, and you know, I'm going there to specifically do groceries, and you know, I get it. Poor her. She's following daddy to go choose the groceries, right? I mean, where's the fun in that? But she would ask me from time to time, "Can we go to the toys aisle and see what there is?" And so, you know, I entertained her, and she pulls out a beautiful doll, and I have to agree, she had good taste. But that week, it's like I hadn't budgeted to spend extra money, you know, and you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to teach her also the value of money. So
For sure.
she shows me the doll, says, "Daddy, can I have this?" And I said, "Well, look, I'm going to ask you a question, because Daddy just wants to make sure that you know for sure that this is really what you want. So do we eat an extra steak this week, or do we get this doll? Which one would you do first?" And she says, "Okay, Daddy, you know what? I want to have a good steak this week, but next week, is it all right if I ask you again?" And I said, "Absolutely." I go, "You just put your stuff in order of priorities first." Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Kids are smarter than we think. It's just that us as adults, we don't realize that. But if we give it some time and we actually spend a little bit of time just to you know, see if they could reason with us, we'd be surprised how far they go with the reasoning.
Kids will go as far as you let them, right? We're the limitations. We're the mold.
Yeah.
They'll do whatever.
So you agree with me, and I think you agree with a lot of our peers in our respective fields, that as much as there's a schooling system out there, that this part of the conversation is really totally a responsibility of the parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know,
Absolutely.
You know, and so we need to send out the message that, hey, parents out there, you know, please listen in and take this advice from us and whoever else has been speaking about this.
This is an experience learned skill for sure. It's not something that's transferred in school, although it's touched upon. And so, unfortunately, the burden for this particular topic is at the home. We touched on something a little bit earlier, and I really wanted to get in. I feel it's a great story. It's a memorable story for me that happened with one of my clients, and I feel that there's a lot of relevant information there. You mentioned earlier some businesses struggling. I'm going to say struggling, or being very creative with their expenses, and for sure that's something that I feel like every entrepreneur and every business owner goes through that phase of maybe being a little extra creative. And this story speaks to that a little bit, and it speaks to the value of having professionals such as yourself and such as myself on hand to be able to rely on. So this one client of mine was one time trying to write off a hot tub as a home renovation expense.
Are you kidding me?
For his business. And I mean, his business was at the house, and you could tell that this client, I mean, nothing bad about the client. Good client, smart person. And you could tell he'd put a lot of thought into it. So having this conversation with me, he's like, you know, I do some of my best thinking in there. I'm stressed at the end of the day. It really helps me relax, helps me deal with all of this, because it was a fairly big enterprise at the time. And so I was like, you know, I get it. But I sat down with him, and having that conversation, I gently had to explain to him that unless he was hosting board meetings in bubbles, the CRA probably wouldn't see it the same way.
That's well put.
And so eventually we adjusted the claim, had a good laugh, a scotch, and then we moved on.
But you have to give this guy credit. That's very creative, though.
For sure. And the point of the story is it's very easy when you're in the thick of it. It's very easy when you're in the thick of it to see the direction you're going.
The lines can get blurred and skewed towards what they think is correct,
For
even though it's
sure.
not.
And that's the strength of having a team like you and myself on hand, where you can bounce ideas off, tell you what the regulations are, and have a sense of humor at the same time.
That's right. By the way, I'm going to throw you some flowers right now. I haven't done it yet so far, although I've been saying that, you know, I appreciate you as a person and as an entrepreneur. The advice that you've given clients of ours over the last few years has been phenomenal. Everybody says
thank you.
Only good things about being put on track with an actual plan to be able to focus their energies on growing their business and no longer wasting energy. And I say it like that, wasting energy in a subject that they are not specialists in, right? We have to agree that we cannot be specialists at everything, and sometimes delegating the tasks to the right professionals. That's the problem. The key thing is finding that right professional that will fit with you. You guys, you fit with the clients that we've brought your way, and we're seeing their successes continue to expand. So thank you very much with that.
I'm very happy to hear that feedback. Thank you
so
much.
with your bubbles in the bath story, I have to say none of my clients are going to make that mistake of asking you that, or at least if they ask you, well, you'll be able to guide them out of it, right?
Let's hope.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're selling bath
products, and that's an ad, right? That's an ad online. Thanks for that story. It's an amazing story. I want to bring your focus now towards another topic that we've spoken about for many times now in the last couple of years, and I think it's taken like head-on, full force, focus by the general populace. The media talks about it all the time. In fact, the top stock stories that we hear about on the stock market is always about the chip makers and the AI companies and whatnot, right? AI, is it here to destroy us? Is it here to make us win? How do you feel about AI when it comes to technology, as a technology?
So that's a great topic. As you mentioned, everybody's talking about this. It's all the buzz right now. Personally, I feel that AI is no different than any other major leap in technology, okay, because there's a fairly major leap. And if we look back, which, as you know, finance is all about looking back and planning forward, right? So is accounting.
100%.
If you're just relying on accounting, it's like driving a car, looking through your rearview mirror, looking backwards all the time. So you need budgeting and you need things that plan forward, okay? If we look back to plan forward with AI specifically, it's very easy to see that, the easiest thing for me to compare it to that everybody can associate with this is the conversation that I once had with one of my math teachers, and I'm sure there's plenty of viewers that have had this conversation with one of their math teachers, is when calculators came out. Calculators came out and math teachers were like, don't use your calculator. It's not good to use a calculator. You need to learn your arithmetic.
It's going to rot in your brain.
It's going to make
you can't think for yourself.
It's not going to make you as smart. You're not going to be able to do a mental math, and which had a certain value to it for sure. And I'm not taking anything away from that. And there is a generation of people who were particularly strong in mental math because calculators weren't around. And yes, the next generation for sure took a little hit in that department. But then again, did we need to rely on that
I agree with
as
you,
strongly? Because we had calculators. And look at today, calculators are built into everything. Excel, computers.
Yeah, they've become just a mundane extra task tool, right?
Cash registers, which was a big thing at the time because that people at convenience stores were having trouble doing mental math.
Everything's being scanned.
Now everything's being scanned. Now there's no
by
more
card.
money. Everything's paid by card. And technology advances whether you want it to or not.
And the world has moved further and faster because of those tools, right?
Absolutely.
So if I understood your comparison to the past, what you're saying basically is that this new technology, we should not be afraid of it, but embrace it.
Well, what I'm saying is those who are afraid of it will be haunted by it.
I understand.
If you don't adapt to new technologies, then you risk falling behind and you lose your competitive edge to the other businesses and industries around you who are adapting to
You're absolutely right on the nail. In fact, don't we have an experience worldwide over the last 5-6 years? The pandemic. I mean, we went from a totally in-person world with a few that were already testing the technology for virtual work. But the idea that those who said, well, I'm going to sit on the sideline because it's going to blow over, they missed the boat. They never actually evolved towards this new digital world that we're in. And look, here we are. We're in person. We're filming here for our viewers out there, but we're here in person. Nothing's really changed with the nature of business in general, but how we
do
handle
business
it,
has
how we
changed.
do it. Yeah, sure. And it's only helped us scale it more, right?
For sure.
I've tripled my business. You know the numbers. You've seen the numbers. I've tripled my
I
business.
cannot confirm nor deny any of these on camera.
I appreciate that, but I'm open to say that our business has tripled up in sales revenues over the last 5-6 years, just because the tools that we're putting in place, and the team has grown. I've gone from a 2-person company to a 4-person, hoping to hire 2 more because that's it. We need personnel to handle. So guess what? We've created jobs in a world where it's becoming more and more automated. It's interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've got an example similar, and you know my business as well, and I'll link in AI for this part of the conversation as well. You know, a lot of competitors in our industry, and whether it's accounting field, legal law firms, or financial services field, a lot of corporations are outsourcing work overseas. And this is creating two things. One, it's giving them a competitive edge because that labor overseas is quite a bit cheaper than it is here in North America. Not everywhere, but where they're outsourcing to, they're taking advantage of that. And secondly is the time frame. Because they're in a different time zone, they're able to get work done while your local team is sleeping. So that's giving them a competitive edge as well.
But now, don't you see a problem with that security-wise? I mean, the fact that they're bringing work abroad, I mean, you guys are handling sensitive information from your clients.
Absolutely. And there's just multiple problems, but that's for sure the biggest problem that we like to talk about is when you're sending that sensitive information overseas, the risk of data theft, of identity theft, the risk of all this, which the world has seen an explosion of identity theft in the last 5-6 years for sure. Okay, it goes up tremendously. It goes up tremendously. Now, for Sacco Accountants, what we've done is we've adopted technology, AI being one of those technologies, and other technologies that have come out as well, to keep our competitive edge here. And we're hiring people here and using these new technologies to, like you said, to make us more efficient, to make us faster, to get automation, data entry automation, all the things that AI is really good at. So AI is good at data entry, it's good at analyzing trends, it's good at flagging anomalies, all of these things that AI does really well. And we're pairing it with the human touch to be able, with experience, obviously.
Hasn't your company grown while these tools are coming out?
Absolutely. Not only has it grown, it's grown in a time where staffing, in North America, staffing over the last 5 years has been more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult. And we've mitigated that, not without its challenges, because we are entrepreneurs.
Very well, yes, very well said. Do you see the risk, or do you feel that you'll be replaced as a human being? And I know it's, for you, like, to answer that, it's a tough one, because do we want to take a stance or not? I'll tell you why I'm going there. Is I did a video, my first video, and it was actually my introduction, to this digital world of my company. It's been around for 2.5 decades, but I'm telling the viewers that, hey, I exist. Thanks to listen in, but really, I'm not doing it for extra business. I'm actually doing it because I want to help you guys out, right? But I have to say, I was reluctant at first to say the exact phrase that I put in the video, that AI is not going to replace us, But I was saying it with a little bit of sweat on my forehead, because, like, well, do I really know for sure? Do I really know for sure that I'm not going to get replaced?
Well, I mean, that's a good point for sure. And do any of us really know for sure? No. But at the same time, my stance is more on a personal level, because, as you know, we are a personally driven firm. Okay, that's where we focus. My opinion is more on a personal level, and what that means is, it really comes down to you. If you're the type of person who keeps up with upcoming trends, who's constantly learning, which is all about being an entrepreneur.
That's right.
Okay. If you keep up with that, it's going to be very difficult to replace that type of person. If you're a static person and there's plenty of those people out there, and they're good people, but there's plenty of, but some people just believe that they've learned all they have to learn, and who are slow to adopt and slow to pivot.
They could be left behind.
They could be more at risk of being replaced. For sure.
They'll be left behind, basically, with the technology, right?
100%. In fact, I think our viewers should understand that there's no real risk of us human beings being replaced. Positions might change. Certain types of job descriptions.
That's the key,
right?
The
change, right?
Change. It's not going to be replaced. It's just going to change.
Exactly.
If you're resistant to the change, you're going to have an issue.
New jobs can be created through this, and so the world will continue evolving. I think that we're going to be a much more productive world with less weight on our shoulders, because these tools are going to help us reach bigger heights with maybe a little bit less effort, right? Now, imagine if we're going with the same effort, but you're accepting it, and you're bringing in these tools. And you're choosing to grow your business with them. I think that the new heights are going to be attained at an exponential rate. So, good on you for explaining it that way. I still have that fear. I won't lie, but at the same time, you know me. I'm not static, and
I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, what the viewers are getting a taste of right now the flamboyant me. Everybody knows that Andre speaks this way, right? I think I'm going to be fine.
I think you'll be okay.
But I see what you're saying about the static personality, and they're the ones who are going to be, unfortunately, staying behind. In fact, I lived the tech bubble. We're talking about 2000, 2001, when the markets came down, and I was coming into the business. And I remember some of my colleagues at the time saying, "Oh, I can't believe we're migrating towards laptops. Like, it's so much better and faster using paper." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, right? I mean, we can laugh about it now, a generation later.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. And even back then, the people who were more resistant, did they survive? Absolutely, they survived. A lot of them are still around.
Yeah.
Could they have done better? Yeah, they could have done better if they'd adopted faster. But it wasn't a line in the sand. And I think it's going to be similarly with AI.
I want to migrate our conversation to the last topic. I think it's the topic that's the most important out of all. Philanthropy.
Yes.
One
But more cheer.
Yeah, one more cheer. Cheers to you, my friend. Salute.
Thank you so much. Salute.
I know you're very much involved with the community. You're very much involved with the foundations, the non-profit organizations that you're working with. And through the years, you got to find out that myself, I have my own little babies that I'm taking care of, between Fondation de la Visite this year. I was actually nominated to be the honorary president for their fundraising event. Yeah, that's
Good for you.
a real honor. Thank you. And
You should be honored.
yeah, and I'm hoping that I'm going to continue working with their team throughout the years to augment their financial strength, if you want, so that they can rely not just on donations, but also on an in-house management that they can create over time. So I talked about perpetuity and so on. And the point that I'm trying to get at is, it comes a time in our careers where we have no choice to give back, to be recognizing that we have a responsibility as entrepreneurs, as family men first, and as entrepreneurs, to leave behind a legacy where it wasn't just about putting money in our pockets, right? That some of the profits that we make are actually meant to be given back to our community. So I'd like for you to give your perspective on this subject.
So thank you. I mean, we are very similar in our approach to this topic, although we differ in some key areas. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say that we don't have a choice. For me, the key is that we do have a choice. I agree with you about the responsibility, though. So you've known me for many, many years. Yeah. You know that philanthropy for me is a core value. Yeah. Whether it's personally or professionally.
Yeah, it's part of your personality.
It's part of who we are. It's part of how we do business. And the idea behind it is businesses do not just operate in communities, they belong to them.
Yeah.
And if you're going to belong to a community, and that community has helped supported your business for X number of years, then it's kind of implied that you can help the community back.
You should give back, that's right.
It's definitely one of the things that we believe in. Taxes are mandatory, okay? But giving back is intentional.
Yes. So that's when you're saying it's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's an intention. In fact, now you're tying in taxation. I have to say it. Our governments, we keep hearing rhetoric about how they want to potentially keep on taxing the rich, or what they consider to be high income earners. I don't consider myself to be rich or ultra rich. I'm doing well. I'm all right. But I'm earning my money. I'm working hard for it. And yes, I don't mind to say that I'm probably a high income earner compared to the masses. But why should I necessarily pay more to a system that might not necessarily focus the distribution of these funds to the correct places that I would love to see flourish, right? So you're touching something that's really important. The idea that I can actually have the choice to focus my dollars towards a good cause.
That's
right?
the question, and that's exactly the point. Is most of the issues people have with government taxation is the fact that the funds aren't properly used, or the belief that the funds aren't properly used, or if you want to put it a different way, it's more the lack of clarity on how the funds are used. Okay. But there's no question that those funds for taxation are necessary to keep the system afloat, to keep the system functioning.
I agree with you.
Now, what people can do for sure is if you want to unblindfold or have more direct control on those funds, well, you can give them yourself. And giving them yourself, you will have more direct control on who's benefiting from those funds. You will be more involved in the community. You're going to help set up a legacy.
And when you have clarity, you can decide to give more if you feel like it, right?
Or less,
or less, yeah.
distributed to particular foundations,
Sure.
organizations.
But why I'm saying that is this year I took a stance with my team. We decided that we're going to give out of the profits that we would make in excess to last year's revenues. My team agreed that before we distribute bonuses to the team, let's give back to the community first. And so, first of all, that touched me because I've got human beings that are amazing working at Financier Andre Ferraro Inc. And you know, that's the long name for SFAF, by the way, for those who are asking, you know, what's that acronym, that abbreviation that's written on the microphones. SFAF is our company. And I chose to give more this year with my team, with their support, because of the clarity. So it's like being overly taxed, but except that I know exactly where the money's going. So I think that there is a certain level of taxation that is absolutely necessary. I agree with you that the system only works with a socialistic point of view, if you want. But at the same time, the idea of having that choice and fulfilling what I think is our God-given right to have that responsibility. But it's a right, it's a choice. It's not an obligation by birth, right? Not everybody can afford to do what we do, which is give time. No. It's not just money. Well, that's time and money, right?
Well, and that's the point, is that everybody can choose what's, because we're not asking anybody to be uncomfortable with their choice. Choose something that's comfortable. But whether it's donating money or donating time or donating stuff, because you can donate auction items or raffle items or things to be, you know, a lot of people are going through their closets now and giving things away, and we're not suggesting you donate used items of clothing. But if you're going through things and you see things that can be of value to someone, I'm sure there's an organization out there that'll take them and that can put them to good use.
Absolutely. A question that I already know the answer. I'm sure that with the financial education that you're going to give at home, you're going to drag your children into the picture to make them see, to influence them to understand.
Drag, I don't know.
Well, you know what I mean by drag.
I'm sure
to expose them.
I'm sure at some point they'll make the right decision.
Yeah. But seeing daddy, obviously, you know, the apples never really fall too far from the tree, right? We hope.
That's the hope.
Right? Yeah. So I think this wraps up our conversation really well. We spoke about all the major subjects that you and I have been talking about for the last long little while. But I thank you for getting involved with me in this first podcast. I will cheer you to you again one last time.
Thanks again, Andre and JF.
You
know, this is fantastic.
Jean-Francois, thank you so much for this. And I want to thank our viewers. I want to thank our viewers for listening in and giving us this chance to propagate some of the conversations and informations that we wanted to give you guys. And, you know, the team at SFAF thanks you very, very much. And we look forward to welcoming you back to our office again. So again, one last time, welcome to my office.